I would like to introduce the executive director, mayor of the Office of Child and Family Success. She was the one. We are the part of the mayor's office that brought you this all together. I would like to introduce Dr. Brooks. So make some noise for Dr. Brooks.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Can I hear a good morning? There we go, there we go. So I just want to say welcome. Thank you for participating. I'm so excited. I know that I had breakfast with some of you this morning and we engaged about some of the learning that we will have today. I want to thank our vendors that are here today to engage us so that we can learn about some of the entrepreneurship opportunities that are out here. I'm really excited about this work. I hope that you all are able to engage and learn about some new opportunities. You will have the opportunity at the end of the day to share what you have learned, to also share some of the ways that we can improve and be able to share some other opportunities for you all and to be able to engage in a way that is meaningful for you. So again, thank you for joining us today and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. Now, this man needs no introduction himself. I want you to make some noise for the one and only Mayor Brandon Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Huffman. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Getting to the Bag Youth Summit. I am so glad to have each and every one of you here today. I want to first thank Dr. Brooks and the entire team at the Mayor's Office of Children and Family Success for coordinating this year's event, and also want to acknowledge our deputy mayors, Deputy Mayor Leach and Deputy Mayor Carter, who you hear from later on, YouthWorks, all of our panelists, facilitators, everybody that's going to pour into you, our young people in Baltimore, which, as I always say, just so that you know, you are our most precious resource. So, you all said that y'all wanted to learn about entrepreneurship. You all said you want to learn about how to get to the bag and keep the bag and grow the bag and make the bag bigger. And that's exactly what we're going to do here today. So I hope everyone takes away things, takes away lessons, talk to people, push yourself, reach out to some of the folks, ask questions of the panelists so that you can learn as much as possible about getting your bag, securing that bag, growing that bag, and sharing that bag with everyone that you know. So let's have a great and productive day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. Like he said, we want to keep the bag, but in this case, we want to keep that direct deposit. Now, we have a lot of information coming your way. So we have some big names with us right here in our city, such as Deputy Mayor Theodore Carter. We have Clarence K.D. McNutt, aka Slutty Vegan. We also have Chantel Green. These are some of the people that get paid big bucks just for their knowledge, their brain. It's crazy. Now, to help you understand all of our dope panelists that are here today, I would like to introduce Miss Sharnee Carter. Am I saying that right? I'm sorry if I butchered her name. From the MAG Partnership.
Well, good morning, everyone. Listen, this is super important because not only am I an entrepreneur myself, I work for a very entrepreneurial company. And so getting to the bag is something that's super personal to me, but it's also personal for the city because without those people wanting to build businesses, we wouldn't be able to get as far as we are. Right? So I'm super excited to be your moderator for our dope panelists as they were previously introduced. So if you're in the audience, please come on up to the stage and so we can rock and roll with this upcoming panel. right. So let's get with the formalities. First, we're going to allow our panelists to just introduce themselves, talk about their business a little bit and what they're doing. And then I have some questions, and I'll allow a chance for you to gather some questions from the audience later on. But what I'm going to do is ask some very pertinent questions of how they got to the bag, how they started their careers, and what motivates them. But first, let them introduce themselves. Let's go with the one who we thought needed no introduction, but we'll start with the Mayor of Baltimore.
Well, I'll be very brief. So, as you know, I am Mayor Brandon Scott. I'm the 52nd Mayor of Baltimore City. Like you, I grew up here in Baltimore. I went to schools here in Baltimore, graduated from St. Mary's College before coming back home to turn my life over to public service, which is, for me, is how I got the bag, actually, is to serving and improving the city of Baltimore, trying to make Baltimore a better place. But I will end it there so that we can get to the questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chantel Green. I own Nurses Are Us Corporation. I also own More Than Just Friends Adult Medical Day Center, and I also own a company in Miami called Surgical Consults by Chantel.
What up, what up? My name is Clarence Mcnair. I'm from East Baltimore. I actually used to be a recording artist, and after my recording artist days, I released a number of #1 best-selling books. I started a business, and I also became, they call me a brand architect. I am the brand strategist to Pinky Co. and Slutty Vegan, a business that started as a food truck and grown into a $100 million vegan franchise.
That's awesome, KD. Ted Carter, I'm Mayor Scott's Deputy Mayor for Community and Economic Development. I'm new to Baltimore. I've been here 15 months, originally from New Jersey, down near Atlantic City. And just honored to be here on behalf of Mayor Scott. My job is to grow the Baltimore community and economy and bring great companies like Slutty Vegan to Baltimore.
Awesome. So we may go in order, we may skip around depending on what those questions are. And I think the first thing I wanted to ask is, how did you what led you to your career path or your entrepreneurial path? And I think we'll start with KD.
Perfect. So I don't even know how much time we got up here, but I'm just, first and foremost, I'm just so honored to be here, just to speak to you all. Sometimes, you know, in my world, I'm working, I'm busy, doing so many different things. But these are the moments that really have value to me, because I know me growing up, me and my mother, we used to attend any seminar or any opportunity that we possibly could get our hands on. So for me, I used to be signed to Motown. I was in an R&B group. And after my music career, I was up against the wall. And sometimes in life, you'll have moments where you're just trying to figure out what to do. For me, it was a matter of survival. So a lot of times we walk around and people will say, hey, you have a gift. And you may not even listen to them. They may say, you're good at that, but you might want to do something else. So eventually I was put in a situation where I had to figure it out. So I started using my creativity, but instead of using it writing music and doing production, I started using my creativity to help other people build their career, build their brand. So I was led to my career path just intentionally wanting to help other people, and it just so happened that I was able to use my creative abilities to help scale, build, and enhance people's brands in their careers. And that's something that you're going to experience in life. Sometimes things will not always go the way that you want them to go, and a lot of times when that happens, it forces you to channel into yourself and use those skills and abilities and talents inside you that you may not even know that's of value to somebody else.
Awesome. Chantal, what led you to how did you get on your journey, your career path or entrepreneurial journey?
So how I got on my journey was, actually I graduated from Dunbar, and I'm from Emerson Village.
Come on, Village.
So what I did was look around and see what my community needed. And that was healthcare, better healthcare. I am actually a registered nurse by trade. I graduated from Frostburg University and LaSalle University. And what I noticed in our community was that everybody is dying from heart disease. When you look around, the #1 killer of African Americans is heart disease. Then you have AIDS. Now we have COVID. So what can I do to help my community? So that is what led me to what I do. And what I do is very different. I have a large company. I actually have one of the largest healthcare companies in Maryland. But what I decided to do is go into inner city communities. I go to Salisbury. I have an office in St. Mary's County. I go in the ghetto slums of Baltimore because we mean something. That's where I'm from. And what I do is do a lot of training. I do a lot of teaching. I give away a lot of free stuff. And I teach my community that we have to do better. We can't let heart disease kill us. We can't let AIDS kill us. We have to do better. So answering her question, what led me to my career choice was seeing what was killing my people. And that's why I'm here today.
Thank you. So I guess a great follow-up question, and I'll ask Deputy Mayor Carter and Mayor Scott, is then how did you find your passion on your journey? You're all here now, and you seem to be very passionate about it. And if I was a young person and I'm still conflicted as to what am I going to do or where am I going to be, how did you find your passion?
I guess I'll go first. I always say that I didn't find my passion, it found me. Right, to answer both questions in one, what pushed me and what got me here is growing up in Baltimore, right? I was 6 years old the first time I saw someone get shot, and no one cared that someone got shot in my neighborhood in Park Heights at this place known as the Ranch. And it pushed me to ask questions about why no one cared, why people thought it was okay, why my friends had to deal with the fact that their parents were severely addicted to drugs, or the fact that I had to live next to a vacant house, or I had to go to schools with no heat, no air, no windows in some cases. And really, it instilled in me a passion for wanting better for myself, for my community, for my family. And that's how I learned that I couldn't wait, that no one was going to come to save me. They sure as heck weren't going to come to save Park Heights. So who better than me to try to get involved in changing it myself? And that passion was instilled in me through lived experience of wanting to help my city be better, not just for me, but the folks around me and the folks coming behind me, like these young people that we have before us today.
And we appreciate that as well. So if you have something burning inside of you that you want to fix, do, heal, don't answer that voice. What would you say, Deputy?
Excuse me. I'd say two things. One, for me, it was my dad and my grandmother. My grandmother getting in my hind parts and also instilling in me Christian values to serve others. And so my dad was a real estate owner in Camden, New Jersey. So in the summers, I would go to Camden. He'd drop me off and say, hey, go fix up this house. And I would get to meet people in the community. Although I didn't live in Camden, I bonded with them and felt an immediate kinship. And so for me, Baltimore feels very much like home and what I grew up with as a kid. And then my grandmother also instilled Christian values and a faith. And so a lot of my journey has been through spiritual discernment. And just to keep it real, on the health side, so I've been a survivor of 2 heart issues. And so that's real. And no matter how good a shape you're in, heed what she is saying just about your personal health and seeking resources like she offers. So thank you for sharing that. It's real.
Thank you. So let me just add what Deputy Mayor Carter is saying, that he had family as a mentor. I kind of want to ask the rest of the panel, have you had a mentor in your journey, or how important do you value a mentor for our young people who are still seeking a way to get onto this journey? I'll go with you first, Katie.
Well, my first, my first mentor and backbone person was my mother. My mother sacrificed she didn't have anything. We grew up in East Baltimore, and my father he went to prison. My father spent 20 years in prison. And my mom was in a situation where she was left to take care of me and my sister. And she felt that it was important, and it was in her heart, because it's my mother, she loves me, to try to help me further myself. So my mom was my first mentor. She was my first person to try to direct me in the right path. Outside of my mom, there were a few people around. However, what me and you guys may experience this too. So me and my mom, we started a record label in 1994 in Baltimore. It wasn't a big label, it was small. And,
what was the name of the label?
F&M Productions. So I put out a music tape, and my mom financed the company off of a Capital One credit card. And we sold cassette tapes, and we went around and we would do different things. And I want to make a point really quick. So my mom, she was my mentor. She was pretty much everything. But sometimes as you journey through life, you will need to have other people who have different knowledge in other fields. So I landed $1 million recording contract in '96. Thank you. I was signed to Interscope Records, and our first music was on the Jamie Foxx Bait soundtrack with Missy Elliott. And when we got to that level, my mom's knowledge was cut. She didn't have the knowledge at that level of business and the career that she had pushed me to get to. So unfortunately, I went through that part of my career, and I did not have a mentor that I really could turn to. I didn't even understand what having a mentor was. So because I didn't have a mentor, it caused me to make and not be aware of what I actually had, and make some not so wise decisions. So in life, a mentor could be a matter of life and death. And sometimes a mentor will not be a family, will not be a friend. Sometimes a mentor, I always talk about, it's a young brother in here by the name of Dawid. He mentors a lot of youth and young adults. Sometimes a mentor will be a total stranger. And even if you don't have that, sometimes a mentor will be someone online, or you could receive mentorship in school or anywhere. But having a mentor is so important, because had I realized the value of mentorship when I was a musician, I would have been able to maximize the opportunities that I had, because I would have been able to speak to someone who possibly been down that journey, understood that the space that I was in, and things would have been a little bit different. So if you say, have I had a mentor? My mom was my mentor, but as I got older, I have a ton of mentors now.
Great.
And I would just add, I mean, you cannot place a deep enough value on the value of having a mentor. So I've had many, and I also think that a lot of times, as you just heard, folks think that to have a mentor, like the person has to be a lot older than you or have to win through these things. But there is a great benefit to having peer mentorship. And I know for me, that means a lot. I've had many, many mentors, former mayors like Mayor Rollins Blake, who gave me my start, Congressman Cummings, bless his soul, who was probably like my closest mentor that I will talk to about any and everything, not just about being an elected official, but about life, right? And I'm lucky to have, both my parents, my dad, my mom, my aunts, my uncles, all of them, my older cousins, all of them who are my mentors, who I learned so much from each and every day, my grandparents. But also now, for me, being in the role that I'm in, being the age I am, there isn't that many of us, right? So I have what we call a peer group, right? There's a peer group of young black elected mayors, a couple of young black elected men, and we all know how it is to be each other, right? And being able to help guide each other, help learn from each other, help to not allow us to make the same mistakes as one made is such an important thing. And you always have to be willing to ask for help, because no one got to where they are by doing it alone. They always had people to help them, to guide them, to be there, to be that sounding board for you to bounce your ideas off of, for you to unload when you've had a bad day, right? And there is no one else for you to go to. You have to have that support group, and you can have mentors that run the gamut from peer to folks who have been in your shoes many years before you.
Chantal?
Yes, so my mentorship was very different. I made a lot of mistakes when I was your age, but when I got older and got my life together, I worked at University of Maryland Shock Trauma, and I landed a job with Dr. Scalea. And Dr. Scalea he was our physician-in-chief at Shock Trauma. And I was so willing to learn, but what really gave me mentorship was seeing all of the young people being brought in by helicopter, gunshot wounds, stab wounds, ATV accidents. You see it on the news every day, and it's like, oh, it's one, it's two. But working in shock trauma, we would get people from PG County, St. Mary's County, and these would be young kids. And then I ran into a predicament where certain people were allowed to get certain medicines based on their insurance. And I didn't think that was fair. So I remember going to Dr. Scalea, and I said, Dr. Scalea, I don't understand this healthcare system. Why does this patient get this and this patient gets that? He said, you know what? You're young. Change it. He said, there's nothing you can do now. But he said, honestly, you can change it. So I really look at Dr. Scalea as being my mentor, because the day that he told me it took a person like me to change it, that's what I set out to do. So I walked away from work. I retired at 42. And now that I am in a healthcare business, I try to do everything the right way. I don't look at color. I don't look at age. I try to undo with what people have done the wrong way for years. So I might can't change it for the world, but I can change it for the people that I encounter on a day-to-day basis.
Awesome. Would you like to respond?
A lot's already been said, so I'll just amplify. Mentors are critical. They've been critical to my success. I'm probably the oldest person up here, and there's reverse mentorship. So the mayor doesn't even, we never had this conversation. I consider him a mentor. He has enlightened, expanded my horizons in ways in this job that he hasn't even realized, the way he educates his team about Baltimore and the challenges. So that's one, and he mentioned it. You got peer mentors, you got mentors that are behind you, mentors that are ahead of you. I think the most important thing, though, is ask. Don't be afraid to ask someone to be your mentor. Most people want to help, but we have fear about, well, will they reject us? And they may just say, look, I don't have the time, and that's a real answer, but don't be afraid and have the courage to ask. So we love you, we're here for you. We're all busy, but we will make the time, and so if you see someone who you bond with, ask, whether that's one of us up on the stage or your peers. So I've talked to some of you about building relationships through this program, and so just keep doing what you're doing. We love you, and it's great to see the energy in the room.
Awesome. So these are great segues, right? So you're like, one of the best advices is to ask. What would you say a youth would do? What is an essential piece of advice you would give a young person to be successful in the future on their either career path or their entrepreneurial journey?
I guess I'll start. First thing is that you have to believe in yourself and stay focused, right? That's the most important thing. You can't achieve what you want to achieve if you don't believe in yourself and to the fullest capabilities of your power. But also that you have to stay focused. If you have a goal that you set out for yourself, nothing should take you away from focusing on achieving that goal. And you all have a lot of noise around you constantly now, even more than I had as a young person. You have to stay focused on that goal, but also you can't achieve anything you want. But it's only if you believe in yourself, and then through that belief, empower yourself to achieve that goal by remaining focused, by not getting distracted, by pushing yourself, by becoming uncomfortable to be able to grow, because being uncomfortable is the only way you grow. You don't grow by continuously surrounding yourselves by the same type of people who are in the same position, that look like you, that think like you, that talk like you, that dress like you. You have to put yourselves in rooms with other people and push yourself to be a better person.
Chantal?
So the advice I would give you guys, if you believe in it, go for it. But one thing I just want to share to you, entrepreneurship is not easy, so you must know that from the very beginning. People look and see the glitter and the glam. It takes hard work to be an entrepreneur. Sleepless nights, researching, driving, getting doors slammed in your face. But regardless of what you go through, don't let anybody tell you you have to be an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and it's okay to have a 9-to-5. Secondly, like I said, if you want to be an entrepreneur, just know you put your life on hold for a couple years. But if you keep at it, it'll pay off.
I would say, 'cause it's some amazing facts and wisdom, you have to believe that it's worth it. Sometimes you will encounter so many challenges, and even sometimes your challenges start at home. So as you try to move forward in life, you just have to really find a value in whatever it is that you want to do. You know, why is it worth it to you? Why is it important? Maybe you want to change the future of your family. You know, finding those things, you know, what is the value? Why is it worth it? Why does it mean so much to you? Because you're going to need that when these hills come as you move forward. You're going to need a reason to why. You're going to need to understand why is it so worth you to keep moving forward and to do something maybe that's never been done in your family. So I would say just telling yourself why it's worth it. Just continuously just why it's worth it.
So you mentioned that there's going to be highs and lows. Chantal, you mentioned there's going to be highs and lows. You know, it's hard work. And they're telling the truth. But can you talk about some of your highs and lows and what made you keep moving? You can go, Katie.
Oh, okay, cool. So I wrote a book my first book called Give It One More Try. That was the name of my book. And that book, people say, how did you come up with the title? That was my reality. Because at one point in my life, in the beginning part, I was at a super high. Think about this. You go from being in East Baltimore to being on 106 in Park, being in Vibe magazine, just traveling the world, doing all of this stuff, living in LA, living in New York. Everything is good. Everything is great. Everything is wonderful. And then the next day, crash. You back at zero, and you got to come back home, and you know, you go back to your mom's house. So from going from that high to that low, it put me in a really challenging situation. And it was the first time in my life where I had to come face to face with the reality that something had changed. And in life, you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. Some may not fall into a low like that. But why I was able to get past that is because, for me, what we consider sometimes to be a problem could be a blessing later on. The fact that I saw my mom able to overcome any obstacle, no matter what. She made best of what she had. We didn't have much, but she made the best out of what she had. We may not have had the best car. We may not have had the best of anything, but she made the best out of it. So when I hit a low, I started to change my perspective on a situation that I was in. And I started to see the value in the small things. And sometimes you're going to need to fix your perspective on situations and experiences in life so that you can keep moving forward. So some very, very powerful advice that I would give: when you experiencing the lows, you have to sometimes go back to your basics and say, you know what? Things could be much worse. You have to start finding that value in just the little efforts, the little steps, whether a friend call and check on you, even if you got to start over, you have to just learn to find value in small things. And that really helped me when I hit a low.
Yeah, I guess, and for me, there's highs and lows like every other moment, right? So I think that's just the nature of the job. And I think for me, it helps me. I always say to Ted and the team, I always try to stay level-headed, because you're going to go from have those big swings. So I'll start with the positive. The highs are things like this. Talking with our young people, visiting our schools, some of the great things that we've been able to do this year, like open 6 new school buildings, start to open new rec centers and fix pools for the young people in Baltimore, things that we've needed for a long time and that we have been ignoring for a long time. But then that in a switch of a moment, of a phone call for me can switch, right? I'm the person that has to deal with the families of those people that are shot or killed. There are people that are dying from COVID every day, people that are dying from gun violence every day. When there's an emergency, or like a whole block just explodes from an explosion, right? So you have to be able to understand in a role of leadership that both things, it is not going to be all glitz and glamour. Mm-hmm. Actually, it's more of the bad stuff than it is the glitz and glamour, but that you're in that position for a reason, and you have to push through, because who better than someone who has the lived experience of living in Baltimore, understanding the issues that we have, knowing what we need to be there in those moments, because you have the cultural understanding, be able to talk to and communicate with all of the city, and be able to be that when something is going so crazy, I have to be that calm voice to let everyone know that it's going to be okay, even though in that moment I myself might be thinking like, this is something very bad that we've never seen before. But we have to, in order to move us forward together, be calm, be courageous, be brave, but also, again, as I said earlier, remain focused on the vision. Don't get distracted. Even when very bad tragedies happen, don't let those things distract you from your ultimate goal and the path that you're on.
Yeah, I would add what the mayor just said, is knowing, and KD said it well, is know your why. Challenges and setbacks are going to happen. You probably have already had some, so if you're clear on your why, that burning feeling that you have in the heart that tells you what you want to do, your dreams, have clarity around that. When I go through tough times, I always start with a spirit of gratitude. So what is going well in my life? And it's always something that's going well that sometimes we don't take the time to acknowledge. The third one would be just, your generation is very hard to be still. Put the phone down and just be silent, be with your thoughts, your feelings, and God. And so faith, as I said, started with my grandmother, drilled that. So those are the things that have really helped me overcome some pretty significant setbacks in my life journey.
I want to say something. I don't know. It just really came to me. I know when some people might have looked at the title, Getting to the Bag, and you might think like, oh, okay, cool. We're going to learn how to flip money, and we're just going to talk about money, and we're going to get a secret. There's some secret magical wand that's going to make money appear if we just get to this conference. The reality is these tools and this information that's being given out to you is actually what you need to even get to the bag, keep the bag, and expand the bag. The actual part of making the money is small. It's more mental, and it's more your perspective and perception of life, and how you handle challenges, and how you're able to regroup sometimes when things fall apart. These are the things that make you rich. These are the things that enhance you. Sometimes even online, you see these posts that go down your feed, how I became a millionaire in 5 seconds, But, okay, allowed you to keep going to get to that millionaire status? Did you, what was your mind? How did you, did you talk to a mentor? Did you encounter any ups and downs? How did you handle that? No one goes from, oh, I became a millionaire in 1 week doing this. That's not reality. So these tools and this information that you're receiving, some of you out here will probably be CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies one day. Some of you will go on to be community leaders. You never know. Someone could become the mayor. And some of you will just, devote your life to helping other people and changing the world in other ways. But without these tools and understanding that things will not always go right and how to handle that, there's no getting to the bag. You have to have these tools first before you can. I wouldn't even want a bag until I get these tools, and I learned that myself.
I would just add some of this takes time. Don't compare yourself to others. Everyone here is on their own unique journey. Some are going to get there early. If you know your why, some may get there later. But believe in your journey. It's going to have bumps, and you'll learn from those bumps. But believe in yourself and have fun along the way.
Thank you. So Katie brought up a good point, and I just want to level set of why we're actually here. So we have people on the stage who not only have made the millions, but have millions in influence. Because when you're in certain positions, you get to move money around because you have that level of influence, or you've taken the journey and you're able to get a certain amount of money. Today, there's no limit on how much money you can make, but the main limitation is your mindset. Until you believe that you can get that money, you won't get it. Until you start thinking about the fact that maybe someone's holding you back or keeping you down, or these are the things, you won't get it. You won't get to the bag. So we could give you a couple of 1, 2, 3 steps, be determined, pick your passion, figure something out. But really the mindset work has to be done early and often. And you guys are in a unique situation because never before has there been a generation where we're saying entrepreneurship. When we were growing up, it was like, get a good job,
Finish school.
work from 9 to 5, right, Chantal? And now we're saying you can create your own journey. You can walk your own path. You can be the thing that you dreamt of being. And so we invited this group of panelists because they took different paths and different journeys to get to where they are, and they still have some road ahead of them. But they thought it was super important that the young people who are coming behind each of us knows that, hey, it's going to be some glory, but it's also going to be some grind, but here's how we got through it, and here's where we're going next. So if there is one mantra or motto before we take questions that you guys kind of live by or stand by or get you up in the morning and motivate you, I would love to hear from each of you to share. Chantal, we want to start?
So my motto, if it is to be, is up to me. Only I have the ability to be successful. Nobody can dictate my goals and my dreams. I have to get up and do it myself.
Me, it's just, I live in gratitude. Every single day I wake up, I'm grateful. And I also take time to reflect back on some of the things that I've overcome. And believe it or not, as you evolve, as you have different levels of success, sometimes you forget, and you're going to forget, you're just going to forget because so many things are going to be happening, but you have to just stay in a place of gratitude. Never forget where you came from. Every day I wake up in the morning, I don't walk around in my yard thinking that I'm just so special that this cannot be gone, or I'm supposed to have. Yes, we all should know our value. We should have nice things. But at the same time, we got to stay grateful and stay in a place of gratitude so that you will never get distracted and sidetracked of reality of where you are.
Yeah, that would be mine too. Attitude of gratitude, that's not original. And the second one which gets me into trouble sometimes, is do what others don't, go where others won't.
I guess for me it's real simple. Do what's right, not what's popular, and discipline for the win. That's it, right? Everything that's the popular thing isn't always the right thing, and that's not always the easy thing, right? Doing the right thing sometimes is hard because a lot of people are going to be angry with you, but at the end of the day, it's still the right thing. And you cannot achieve any level of greatness if you don't practice extreme levels of discipline.
Awesome. So you all are here for a reason, and if there's any burning questions in the audience, you can raise your hand. I'll acknowledge you. Use your outside voice and the inside so we can make sure that we can hear you, or I'll repeat it back. The young lady in the black and red. You can just stand up where you are and just.
Testing 1, 2.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so my name's Adiola. I'm the founder of Fem Equity, and right now I currently coach debt education students who are thriving in entrepreneurship. All my 10 kids are awesome. And so my question for the panel is, what does equity look like for Baltimore in the next 5 years? Just because I've seen that Baltimore is pushing to be the next Equitech city and a lot of equity and sustainability. And I wanted to hear from the horse's mouth what that looks like in the next 5 years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think so. When we talk about equity in Baltimore, we always have to go back and level set of why that is such an important thing, and it was such an important thing for me when I passed Baltimore's equity law, is that Baltimore basically is the birthplace of legalized segregation and inequity, right? The first redlining law was passed in the very building that my office is in by someone that held my office, Mayor Preston at the time. And when we want to undo generations of that inequity, we have to do it in many ways. So over the next 5 years, because this for me is my legacy project, right, to make Baltimore the most equitable city that it can possibly be. What that looks like is a wide-ranging thing. One, from a city perspective, is that we are doing the opposite of what we have done for the last several hundred years, right? And that's investing directly in black and brown neighborhoods, not just in bricks and mortar, but we have to do that because when you look at the history of our capital budget, we were only investing in areas that the water touches, right? It was like the Lion King. Everything that the water touches is what is good, everything else is bad, right? So starting to invest directly in those neighborhoods, East and West Baltimore, which is why you see the things that myself, the deputy mayor, others are talking about are direct investments into those neighborhoods, but also the people, right? When you see our historic investments into public schools, into recreation and parks, but then when you get into how we're going to grow the city, we have been a city that has pretty much ignored its small and minority and women-owned businesses and have been thinking that, you know, some big businesses was going to fall out of the sky, whether it be Google, whether it be Under Armour, whether it be Amazon, and it's going to save us from all of our problems. The reality is if you see a city that's high functioning, you're going to find that the first thing that they did was invest in their small business community, their black business community, their brown business community, their women-owned business community, and allow them to flourish. And that's why we are going to be the first Equitech city. So we're going to be growing those businesses so that these young people can either work there or get and start their own company that joins in that ecosystem that we're growing. And the next 5 years will still only be the beginning because we have a long way to go in our city, but we're making those foundational investments so that when one of these young people is sitting on this stage, we are the most equitable city in our country.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I have a question right here. Right, this young man right here. Oh, sorry. Didn't realize the mic was so far.
She in front of you.
Raise your hand with the New York. Yep, yep.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
My question is, one of the panel members said that entrepreneurship wasn't really talked about in their generation. So how did you know that the entrepreneurial pathway was for you?
How did you know that the entrepreneurial pathway was for you?
Honestly, I'm not the type that can wake up when somebody tells me to. I'm not the type that can take instructions. So I knew that I had to be an entrepreneur. I was late when I worked the job, I was late every day. And I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. So I had to work for myself and trust and believe it's a good feeling. It's ups and downs. There's a lot of downs. You know, people, I was just featured in Forbes magazine as one of the top healthcare companies in America. And a lot of people were saying, oh, I seen you at Forbes, I seen you in this, and I'm saying to myself, oh, if they only knew. But entrepreneurship is a good thing, but like I said, you have to be ready. It's not easy, okay?
Anyone else want to?
Some also. I want to say one thing to add on to that. Sometimes you're born. Some of these titles, you were born a certain way. Where some people have a leadership from being a baby, just a certain personality in a way of how you all call it a certain vibe. But sometimes you're just born with certain abilities of leadership, and it's not something that from just a decision. So don't undervalue. Sometimes you might be loud, and people may say you're too loud. Why do you talk so loud? Why are you so bossy? And those are natural qualities that could benefit you later.
Any additional questions?
Hi, my name is Amaya, and I'm one of the students from Dent. So one of the things that we're currently learning in our Dent track is entrepreneurship, because all of us are entrepreneurs. And one of the questions that I had was, how do you deal with speaking in front of large groups of people? Because one of the things that we have to learn is pitching. And for a lot of us, it's really difficult because we don't like speaking in front of people, especially large groups. So we just wanted to ask how you deal with speaking in front of people, or how you got comfortable with it.
Great question. Deputy Mayor?
So I'll start by saying speaking in front of large groups of people is like anything else, right? You have to practice it. You have to do it. Repetition. I'm an athlete, right? So you have to do it over and over and over again. But doing in a way that you learn. You have to learn from your mistakes. You have to improve each and every way, and go into it knowing that no one at first was comfortable with it, right? So I'll just tell you a quick story. If you would have told me when I was in first or second grade that I would, get paid to do speeches, I would have probably laughed at you. Because although I was in advanced academic, I actually, because I had to have surgery on my throat multiple times, I was in special ed because I had to learn how to talk again, having speech classes, right? So it doesn't matter what beginning you come from, you have to be able to understand that if you push yourself, if you do it through repetition, if you practice, you go out and watch, right? Especially now you guys have YouTube, watch folks who give those kind of public speeches, learn from folks, take notes. It's no different than doing anything else in life. life, right? You learn from the mistakes of others, you learn from your own personal mistakes, but also do it in a way that makes you feel comfortable. When you are giving a speech or you're giving a talk in front of a large group of people, you have to do it in your own way, in your own terms, so that it feels like that you are having a conversation with several individuals and not just giving a big oratory speech in front of a big auditorium.
And then we have
could I just add two quick things? So let's give Marcus a hand, because he and I were talking about this before he did his speech today, so you should really ask him. And so he was practicing and rehearsing with one of his colleagues. So that support network was happening in real time. So Marcus, great job, man. I just want to go back to entrepreneurship for something that I think, Mayor Scott is the 6th mayor I've worked for in 5 different cities. And something I've seen consistently in these cities with our tribe, and that your generation, I think, is a little different, is just appetite for risk. Appetite for risk. So that doesn't mean just be reckless, but really understand and be thoughtful about what risk you're taking. Not that you can eliminate it, but you can mitigate it and understand it, and then lean into it appropriately. So having a risk appetite, I'm sure Chantel can talk about that big time, given the space that she's in. So there's a couple of good books out there about, and read would be the other advice. Read, read, read.
We had one final question from this gentleman all the way on the end. Yes, sir.
Get your book now, man. You tell me about that when you first met. Say one more step, you said?
Thank you. Hi, my name is Jalen. One of you mentioned earlier that not everybody in here is maybe suitable or gonna be like an entrepreneur in the future, and sort of that kind of applies to me. I'd say I have a lot of entrepreneurial nature, but I wouldn't like label myself as an entrepreneur. But with that in mind, what are some, or how in your experience have entrepreneurial skills applied to you in different settings that you think could allow you to be more successful if you weren't to be who you are today? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Who wants to take that one?
So, tell me if I'm wrong. So,
I think what he's saying is like the qualities of an entrepreneur in a career pathway. Like, what would some of those things be?
Yeah, I think, and he's saying like, how would it help you if they're entrepreneur? How would those qualities help them in something else if they were doing something else?
Yeah, I think so. I've spent my career in the public sector, private sector. I've been an entrepreneur by necessity because I was unemployed several times. And so I think it's your mindset of creativity and being able to try things. And you have to find an environment that allows you to do that. And so entrepreneurship is just isn't making money. It can be in a nonprofit entity. It could be at a community level. So entrepreneurship, in my mind, is a mindset that you bring to the job that you're doing, your creativity, your innovation, you're thinking outside the box, the discipline that the mayor talked about, working towards the goal.
I want to add something to this. So, entrepreneurship, CEO, president, founder, all of these different titles. The first place that entrepreneur starts is at home. And if you guys have YouTube, so you guys have Instagram, you have YouTube. There are also a lot of common behaviors and patterns that a lot of successful people have. Waking up early, reading books, disciplining yourself at home. Sometimes you may want to stay on a FaceTime to 2, 3 in the morning. Sometimes you have to read a book to 2, 3 in the morning. Or maybe you need to go to bed early so you can get up early. So outside of the characteristics or whatever to run a business and be an entrepreneur, there are day-to-day things that lifestyles that entrepreneurs have. I know for me, sometimes I mess up, but I try to walk every single morning just to get a head start. Maybe around about 6. I get up at like 5:30 just to get a head start, just to clear my mind out, just to kind of get my thoughts together and spend time with myself. because I need time with myself so that I can function. Because to be an entrepreneur or just to be successful, no matter what, it takes a lot of positive energy. It takes a lot of energy. And if you don't have the routines, your day-to-day routines, don't complement your entrepreneur titles or your success or whatever it is that you choose to do, it's not going to grow. You have to have a day-to-day, and people will recognize that. People will say, family members will come to your house and, oh, this person, every time I come around, they're reading a book. Or, oh, this person does this, or whatever the case may be. So it's a lot of our day-to-day habits that we have every single day that will determine a lot of times your growth and your ability to take yourself to the next level just in your every single day life. So
another thing I want to touch on is being an entrepreneur, you have to constantly educate yourself. Now, I know y'all gonna kill me. COVID-19, imagine having I have 1,000 clients under my company. So we get hit with COVID-19. I've never heard of it. It was just crazy. And the majority of my clients are the elderly population. I have 7 doctors that work under me, work for my company. I have 5 physical therapists. So during this time, adult medical day centers were actually shut down, and I actually own an adult medical day center. So I had to go into like beast mode. I had to self-teach, because really nobody knew about COVID. It just hit. So I had to research, what are the signs and the symptoms? I knew one was sore throat. So like I said, I'm a registered nurse. So I had to say, well, what could I give to my patients to help them not catch this disease? So then I had to research vitamins and minerals. And so what I did, we have about 15 vans, and we had patients all the way to in the Eastern Shore. So we got in the vans, and we took everybody care packages. But when I say educate yourself, you have to stay on top of your game, because we lost, out of 1,000 clients, we lost 5 to COVID. And that's really good. Yeah. But we stayed on top of it.
Can I just add a quick, so I have an 18-year-old, so I was going to share a story, because since most of you all are in that age group, but I'm not going to do that. But the story I was going to share with you reminded me something that Chantel just said, and that my grandmother instilled in me, is always find people around you who make you better. And she would always tell me, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Exactly. So again, just finding people that push you, that are outside of your comfort zone, that you want to share, is another quality I think that's very important about success, is having a giving spirit, not just being a receiver all the time, but find people who you can learn from that make you better.
So we have very limited amount of time. We're going to get this one final question, and then we're going to wrap it up so you can get to your breakout sessions. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Erica, and I was wondering, what are some things that you have tips for like the new starters of like their business? Like for the kids that are starting their business really early, what are some tips that you have?
Tips? My biggest tip is, before you start a business, you want to see what the community needs. And that's how you become successful. When I started my business, I went into different areas, parts of Baltimore City, Baltimore County, like I said, St. Mary's County. And I had to look and see what they didn't have. What can I do? What can I offer these people, these clients, that they don't have? So to be successful in being an entrepreneur, you have to find out what you have to offer that is scarce. And that's how you become successful.
Yep. Katie?
In the branding industry, they say if you introduce a product to the market and the market is not ready for that product, it's not going to work. Or you introduce a product to the market and you're not able to convince the people why this product has value, it's not going to work. Or you introduce a great product, you convince the people on why the product has value, but it's the wrong timing. Sometimes when you start businesses, it's a matter of timing also. You can have a great business concept, you can have a great vision, but your business, the market is not ready for that business. When you see a lot of businesses blow up, and it's not so much that their business was better than your business or they had the best business in the world. It was the timing of the business. She mentioned COVID. You had a lot of people who were in the cleaning industry before COVID. When COVID hit, a lot of people who had sanitation businesses, cleaning businesses, they made a fortune because they were ready at the right time and they had the right business, the right services to offer and solve a problem. So as you go through life, you will really, really understand that sometimes when you start in a business or anything, timing is everything. Sometimes you can have little resources, but if you have a business at a time when people need it, that small business will grow quicker than it will be mind-blowing to you. It's just when you look at Slutty Vegan, and we're actually expanding here to Baltimore and in other markets. We went in a territory in the South where people were starting to get into the vegan experience with YouTube and Instagram and people seeing so many different creative ways to have a vegan experience. More people wanted to experience what life is in the vegan world. It just so happened we had a product where our burgers taste better than McDonald's and all of these other burger places. And the people in the South, they taste the burger and it was right. It wasn't so much of the food, it was the timing. The business thrived off of the timing. The market was ready. People were well educated on the vegan lifestyle, but they had no access to vegan food that tastes like the food that you eat regular with meat. So we supplied them with a similar taste and a different experience at the right time.
So thank you. So just to wrap up, if you have social media handles that you want to give out for these young people to follow you, please go ahead and share that with us, and then I'll invite Marcus back to the stage.
Mine's very simple. It's Mayor B.M. Scott.
Mine is simple, Chantel_Green with the E on the end.
At the real KD Mcnair.
So he said he was Kevin KD before Kevin Durant was. That's the story behind that.
That's actually true.
Mine is simple. Deputy Mayor Ted at IG.
Awesome. So let's give a round of applause for our great panelists for sharing their gems, their wisdom, for spending some time with us.